Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Midland Reporter Telegram's District 3-5A football report. We're here at week one, the second week of the high school football season. District 3-5A fully underway. 2 Midland schools win, the 2 Odessa schools lose, and the 2 Abilene win, right? Remind me if that's correct. Okay, all right. I've read the standings, but I can't retain stuff very well. I'm here with Sean Schroyer. We're going to talk a little bit about Lee, and then we're going to go right into our predictions. First of all, Sean, I was surprised Friday night. I think, maybe even Lee surprised themselves. What did Lee do so well on Friday night to be able to go into El Paso, a game that some people thought they could win? I thought they would probably lose, but not dominate like that.
Yeah, well, as the 42-0 score kind of indicated, they did everything well. Kind of as Coach Morton said after the game, offense was maybe their weakest area out of the 3 facets of the game. But their special teams really made the difference in the game. Just about every time they kicked off, Dustin Beal was putting it through the end zone. And just letting the defense set up on the 20 and kind of go from there really gave them an advantage. They also blocked the punt and really set up the defense well. It took most of the first half for Montwood to even get past midfield. And from there, the defense was able to stop them usually in short drives and then give the offense pretty good field position. There was one time even they set up, I want to say on Montwood's 3-yard line, turned that into an easy touchdown. Another time got it at Montwood's 20, wound up scoring another touchdown. So really just everything was working in their favor that night.
I was a tough game this week, and we'll get right into the games. They faced El Paso Coronado again. Coronado came here last year in Grande and kind of handed it to Lee, especially, Sam Brown, ran all over him as well. So a tougher challenge this week for Lee, right?
Yeah. I want to say Brown has graduated, but Coronado does have both their quarterbacks back from last year, and they kind of split snaps, so they'll have some experience back there. And really, as the last 2 years have shown, when Lee's played a El Paso team in the playoffs, those schools out there, you can't take them lightly. And Montwood has kind of turned into a perennial playoff team, and Coronado is also expected to compete in that district this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Don Brooks always brings a well-disciplined, good team to the table every year, and he's played a lot of 3-5A teams in his career. They've had limited success, but I think last year kind of was a turning point for them when it came to playing 3-5A teams. We'll get to your game in a second. We'll first of all start off on Thursday night. A couple of out-of-state matchups for District 3-5A teams this week. Permian will take on Bethel, Washington. I think is the name of the school Bethel High.
Bethel something.
Okay. They'll take on a team from Bethel, Washington on Thursday night at Ratliff Stadium. A lot of unknowns in this one. Who do you think is going to win?
I really can't say for sure. I don't know anything about Bethel's history. I do know Permian will be out there in front of the home crowd with something to prove after last week's loss to Smithson Valley. Offensively, they couldn't get anything going running the ball, and that's kind of their MO. And so that's one thing that they'll be out to prove. Talking to Coach Gaines today, one thing that's made it difficult scouting Bethel is this will be their first game of the year, so he couldn't get any tape on their first game because they haven't played one yet.
Right.
So he said he got some tape from last season, but depending on what players are back, they could be kind of running the same system, or they could be completely different. He's not even sure.
Give me a score.
Let's 24-17, and that could be either team. I don't know.
Okay. I like Permian in this one, even though I still don't trust them a little bit. But I like Permian in this one. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think you're going to be looking at 17-10. I think Permian. I just think the road trip may be just a little too much for Bethel, depending on when they get here, how they adjust. Out-of-state teams have come to here before. If everybody remembers, the team from Clovis came here and played a heck of a game against Lee and won that game. We'll move up. Abilene High will play Franklinton, Louisiana, a team that's coming to face Abilene. That's facing Abilene High. Won a state championship in Louisiana. This is all part of the gauntlet of the schedule Abilene High faced. Still, though, Abilene High is the defending Division II champ. Should they be able to win this game?
I think so, and I think anybody from Texas will probably be feeling that way, that they're kind of playing for the pride of the state in a matchup of 2 state champs. But I think Abilene High kind of proved what they're made of last week, falling behind in the second half, and then blowing out Belton the final 2 quarters.
I got to predict a score on this one.
Go with 30-14 Abilene High.
Okay. I like 35-7. I think Abilene High is going to come out and kind of roll pretty good on this because I think their depth is going to be a big thing for this against teams from Louisiana. Those teams tend to have not as much depth as teams do from Texas. We get a little bit closer to home. Lubbock, Monterey coming to Odessa High. Coach Pearson has another year at Lubbock, Monterey. They will be playing on Friday. This is a former 2-5A game. Also, Odessa High had some glimpses last week. Obviously, Bradley Marquez showed what he was made of. Is this a game that Odessa High can win, and can they rebound a little bit, or is the quarterback situation enough that's going to keep them struggling for a couple weeks?
I think it's a game Odessa High should win. I think it's a game they need to win just to kind of get their confidence back, get some swagger back, and remind themselves that they are one of the better teams out here in the region. And yeah, with Marquez last week, he moved up to number 2 in the school's all-time rushing list. And even with their problems in the passing game, he was able to have a really nice game, go over 100 yards. And so if they can kind of get the passing game going and kind of move the sticks, I think that'll help them overall. One thing, talking to Coach King today, he said that the defense, they gave up over 300 yards of offense, but the main reason for that was they were on the field most of the game. So in the second half, they just really wore down. So if the offense can kind of move the sticks and control the ball a little bit more, it'll help them all across the board.
Give me a score on this one.
I'll go with 35 to 14, Odessa High.
This was a good baseball series last couple of years, though. By the way, I think Odessa High is going to win this one. I think they're going to. I think both teams are going to light up the scoreboard in this one. I think it's going to be 35-28 Odessa High. Austin Westlake at Abilene Cooper. The former Permian coach Darren Allman gets to make his way back to West Texas to play. Coach Bradlin and his Cooper squad. This is going to be an interesting. This is going to be an interesting game. I mean, there's going to be a lot of balls flying in this one, probably.
Yeah, I'd say so. I know coming into the year that Abilene Cooper. Coach Mike Spradlin was pretty confident in his quarterback, and I'm blanking on the quarterback's name, but sounds like he's pretty legit and had some good stats last week. And then Westlake, they kind of had the pedigree, so it'll be an interesting matchup.
Who do you like in this one? Give me a score.
Westlake, 42-35. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this one.
I like Cooper in this one. I really do. I like Cooper to come in and play well and shot well. This is a big game for them. This is a nice proving game for them. I think Cooper's going to win this game 35-32. Another Midland team gets to travel to El Paso next week when Midland High, off that solid defensive performance against Amarillo High, gets to take on El Paso Del Valle out there in El Paso. This is a game that Midland High should win fairly easily, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Bulldogs proved quite a bit last week playing a team in Amarillo that's always going to be tough no matter where you play them. And El Paso was kind to the Rebels last week. I think it'll be pretty kind to the Bulldogs this week.
Score?
35 to 17, Midland High.
I think the Bulldogs are going to kind of go crazy in this one. I think it's going to be 42-10. I think that offense is finally going to open up a little bit for Kier Woods, Tyler Middleton, and crew, and I think their defense is going to do the same thing they did last week. Finally, El Paso Coronado at Lee, a rematch of last year's Class 5A Division II playoff game at Grande Communications Stadium. This is a game that left a bad taste in Lee's mouth last year. Not only did they lose, but they lost bad. They did not. There just was a situation where they probably didn't feel like they competed as well as they probably could have. So I know Morton's not one to talk about vengeance, revenge, and everything like that, but it's got to be a situation where those kids that were on that team last year remember that and kind of want to get a little bit of revenge, a little redemption from that last year, don't they?
Yeah, it was a game where it really didn't feel like Lee was ever really in it from the start. Coronado's ground game just kind of wore the Rebels out, and they took off from there. And Coach Morton may not be bringing up vengeance and revenge and all that, but I guarantee every assistant on the team and every player that was in that game last year, they haven't forgotten and they're using that as motivation this week.
That Morton may put a gag order on everybody if they say too much. Yeah, because he's not going to say a whole lot. Give me a score, Sean.
I think this will be pretty close, definitely closer than last week, but I think Lee will win at home, move to 2-0, win it probably 30 to 20.
I like Lee in this one. I still think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be Lee 24-21. I think it's going to be a tight game. Don Brooks' coach team, they're always good. They're going to be well prepared. This is going to be one heck of a game on Friday night for people to see. You need to go to Grande if you're in town to see it. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. I'm Len Hayward. That's Sean Schreier. Thank you for joining us here on the Miller Reporter Telegram District 358 Report.